Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome, 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 my sweet pleasure seekers. I'm just getting myself a little cozy, comfy here. That's good. So tonight we have a topic, and it's going to be a fun one because it's all about submission, and that's fun. Not only are we going to talk about it for those of you who are brave enough to be watching this because you're like voyeurs, there's going to be some in-between commercials of fun. You get to see some stuff that might help your submission life. Awesome. So I'm just going to yeah. So our topic today is submission and the art of surrender. And my question to you is, have you ever truly let go? And I work with a lot of people, and I work with a lot of people with their bodies, with their emotions, with their health, you name it. And what I know to be true is it's rare that we actually know how to let go. It's rare. And I've been practicing for a very long time on developing the skills of how to let go and the tools and the means and the different methods of how to actually let yourself let go. And I know that, when I work on bodies, sometimes, there's resistance to even movement that can be simple movement. There can be resistance to having your leg opened to the side. And to me, anytime we have resistance in an area of our bodies, there's something that we've locked in there. There's something we're holding on to. There's something that we're not willing to submit. If we submitted, we'd actually receive. When you submit something, for example, like you submit a form, you're putting something in, where sometimes we think that submission is like you're losing something, but submitting and you're actually giving in, you're kind of investing in a way. My interesting point of view and perspective on this. So what could you be investing in with the art of submission? So that's what we're going to be exploring today, is what we could actually be investing in our lives and our bodies if we truly were willing to let go. And I know some of you out there listening, and I've been in these shoes myself, and I'm learning how to be a little less like this. But I know that there's a lot of you listening who are like control freaks, right? You even probably control how hard, how fast, and how long you have an orgasm for. You might even try and control sneezing or try to control going to the toilet. I know growing up for me, that was my one thing that I could really do well, was control holding my pee for like hours and hours and hours until it was like so dreadfully painful that it would turn into a mess. That is an interesting way to be when you feel like your whole environment is chaos and the one thing that you think you can control is going to the bathroom, right? So submission is starting to learn where it's safe for you to allow yourself to have the freedom to receive and the freedom to let go of control. Isn't that a fun thought? I can feel some of you squirming, going, never. I like to be dominant and I like to be in control. Now, one of the funniest things about being in control is you can't actually be in control until you learn how to submit, because even to be in control, you have to submit to being in control. You can be kind of half in control where you're frustrated because things aren't really going your way because you're trying to control the situation. However, if you submitted to the role of being in control or being dominant, you actually then become dominant. There's still a submission though. It's like putting in an application and saying, I'd like to submit to being dominant. So I will say that again. In order to truly be in, we'll call control, you have to learn how to submit first. And even in order to be in a position of control truly without being frustrated or angry, or even say coming from like a place of where it's more like a survival instinct to control, to truly be in control of a situation, you have to submit to being in control. Submission comes first, then control. So to be dominant, you also have to first know and be willing to know how to submit. It's kind of like if you're working in an office and you're trying to climb the ladder, and you might have gotten in by, doing some maybe menial jobs, right? And if you started on the menial jobs and you learn how to do some basics, maybe some basic different programs on computers, and you develop those basic skills, then you start to learn how to be more and more of a manager or be in control. But you usually have to start in a position where you are in submission. We don't usually start in a position of control. Not very many people have the capacity to be fully in control of a business or their lives without having somebody be guiding them first. Although we are wise beings and we are highly intuitive and we can make choices and we are able to be that empowered, sometimes part of the empowerment is to allow people to learn to receive, which is what submission is all about. Yeah. So, So one of the questions that's coming up in the chat is about being in the position of a sub versus a dom and who's actually in control. So when you are in a relationship of sub and dom, the sub is totally in control. How is that? Well, for one thing, the sub chooses exactly what's going to go on and when and how things can proceed or stop. And this is where safe words come in handy. So we know that, and if you've listened to this show, you know that there are some safe words that are really standard. Red, yellow, green, just like stoplights, right? So red, stop, that's far, that's gone too far. Yellow, you're approaching the no play zone. And green is you're good. For a lot of times you don't bother having to say green, green, green. You just kind of go yellow, red. Yeah. So you know that, you can have communication. So communication is key. For a sub, you have to know how to communicate. And it's such a great thing to be able to do because that will carry out through all your relationships. So how do you be a sub? How do you submit, and how do you learn how to be in a receiving position where you are not totally in control, where you're not forcing yourself to, I don't know, be feeling something that maybe you're not feeling. So I'll see where I'm going with that. However, I'm going to go back to how do we do this? So we have a few things, and one of them is willingness. So you got to be willing to actually let go. I'm not asking you to let go. I'm just asking you to be willing to let go, even for 10 seconds. Let go. Just be like totally out of control. Shake it up, shake it off, move your hands, go crazy, let your body just lose control. Yes, you might pee on the sofa while you're listening to this because you've lost control. I don't think it's going to go that far, but it could just go that far. So let yourself for 10 seconds have no control. Then try 37 seconds of out of control. As you allow yourself to not be in control, you can start to engage in relationship with somebody, your lover, where you can start to pass over the torch of control. You can let them be the guiding the guiding light in the relationship in terms of whatever is going on for pleasure. What happens a lot of times is a lot of people are quite resistant to the whole concept of submission because they think there's a weakness to it, or they think they're going to lose something like their dignity. There are cruel people in the world who would definitely have that occur, for sure. I mean, there's a difference between submission and playing the role of sub and dom, and then there is a difference between that and abuse. And abuse would be where you're not agreeing to this, and this is occurring and you have not given consent. That's abuse. And then we're looking at the whole area where there is agreement, there's conversation and permission. And so when there's been permission given, you've already given your willingness. You already said yes. And that is like step one to allowing yourself to be submissive. Is you've just said, yes, I'm willing to be. Yay. I'm willing to have the conversation. Awesome. And then part of those steps is to just be willing then to check. Am I willing to lose control of everything for 10 seconds, 37 seconds? Even if I didn't have to control my breathing, even if I didn't have to control my bodily fluids, even if I didn't have to control my body's movements, for 10 seconds, what would that look like? What would that be like? You might go a little cuckoo, and that's cool. Maybe put on some music that's totally out of control and let your body move to it. You can do different various forms of dance to learn how to get out of control. They actually take you through different movements and rhythms to get your body to release in different ways. And 5 Rhythms, if you're not familiar with it, by Gabrielle Roth, is a really great, actually, example of learning some rhythms to not only become body aware, but also to learn to release and let go. Not always associated with sex, probably never. I don't know, it just came to mind right now. So Gabrielle, if you've seen this and you're like, wait, don't associate my work with that. Sorry about that. It's how I am associating your work right now. And I love that I think that Gabrielle Roth is going to be listening to my show. So we are, what I also think about too is that a lot of things when it comes to submission is that we don't even grasp the value of what it can be as a healing art. Yes, submission as a healing art. What and how and why? Okay, so for so many of us out there who have had different circumstances in our lives that may have lent you to feeling like there's been violence or abuse in your life, and as a result, you've not really let people in, you've not really let anybody contribute to you. This, in the most maybe vulnerable and intense and severe way, can open you up to allowing people in. It can be most severe indeed. So I'd like you to just sit and consider, like, what would it be like to allow myself or to allow your body to be completely pleasured, and for you to have absolutely no control of how and where that's coming in, yet being in total control of how and where it's coming in, right? Kind of a mind play. So you're out of control, yet you're totally in control. You have every say, and you can place any request. What would your body ask for if you were in the position of submission, where you got to be completely pleased by your lover, tantalized, tortured in a scrumptious way, and all of that going on while you're being totally in control? where you can say yes or no whenever you like, and you can say red whenever it works for you. You can say green, and you can say green, green, green. You can say whatever works for you. Of course, use your own safe words if you like. And I encourage you to look at what would that be like? What would your body be asking for? As an exploration in your mind, what would that be like? So you guys go explore that. We're actually going to be heading to our very first commercial break. You are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email. info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. If you were watching on video on Binge Networks and various other video locations, you might have just enjoyed me during the commercial tying myself up and to my best of my ability, and also blindfolding myself. So on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV, welcome. I hope you enjoyed that. I really love this. Actually, it came from, so what I'm holding right now is a sash. It's satiny sash that is black, and it's about, I'd say, 6 feet long. And honestly, I got it at like this little shop called Ardennes, and it was being sold as a sash. Like I think it was being sold as a belt, but it is so beautifully soft. And knowing me, I probably spent less than $10 on it. Great piece of material. And it's so fun with the so many things you can do with it. On the first part of the commercial ad, when I did do the tie-up, I did a really good one, and then somehow I got so excited I carried away myself, and then I kind of lost it and created some other ways to tie. So have fun playing with different ways to tie yourself up. Why not? If you want to practice and see what that feels like, because truly, if you've never had this done, you might want to try with yourself just to see how comfortable you are, and then move it into partnership, right? So to me, anytime you're uncomfortable with something and you're not sure how it's going to play out with a lover, try it with yourself first. A lot of things you can try with yourself first. There's very few things that you can't, other than maybe oral sex. But now even there are so many toys that can substitute that. So, well, sort of roughly. So lots of things you can do. So get yourself a sash, a sexy, silky sash, because they're just delicious. And there's a lot of things you can get that, yes, you can go to the store and you can buy beautiful different toys. Like I'm now, for those of you who are on YouTube and IGTV and Facebook and all the different ways you can be watching. I'm showing actually one of my favorite. It's a whip from Pure Romance. I call it linguini because it reminds me of linguini, but I have to think of what the real name is. I think it's called Onyx, the Onyx whip, and it's about $50, and it's made of 50 Canadian, and it's made of silicone, so it's totally washable, and it has a nice feel to it for sure. So it's got a nice hit, and it's got a nice feeling too if you just want to tickle with it. So lots of options. Get yourself some accoutrements, my people. Have fun with those. So we're talking about how do you submit? Well, having some tools are helpful. Having the will is helpful, and then having some ways to begin that, right? So having a purpose can be helpful too. So to me, having a purpose, maybe your purpose is healing. Maybe there's been something in your life that maybe you've been having difficulty dealing with, even maybe with this therapist. So you're like, wow, my next step might be doing some sexual healing here. And how do I approach that? And how do I learn to trust again, trust myself, trust my knowing, trust my body, trust lovers? How do you do that? So like I was saying before, you can start with yourself, like I've just, hit myself with linguini on the hand. You can do that. You can spank yourself on the butt just to get used to it. Have a little fun with that. And get a sash, nice silky sash. So one of the people in the chat room is saying that she has one from a robe. Awesome. There are lots of things that I bet if you looked in your closet, you have some pretty cool clothes and things that you can use. And I bet you have some spanking beautiful panties lying around, ladies, that you can also use. I didn't bring any here, and I'm not taking the ones I'm wearing off right now, but you can totally use panties, sticking your hands through the leg holes, using them to tie yourself up. You can always have yourself all tied up and ready to go for when your lover comes in, because that could be fun too, right? So you're already in submission position and your lover is ready to play. So that's pretty fun. However, having your lover tie you up too is totally cool. So showing them some methods to tie you up are helpful. Or also, submission doesn't have to include tie up, because not everybody's comfortable with that. So submission really includes receiving in a hardcore way. And that could be spanking, that could be tickling, that could be even having somebody just being, standing in a corner and being watched. That can even be a level of submission. There can be all kinds of things. So I want you to kind of consider that it's not always like getting beaten till you cry or being burned or scarred or anything like that. There are nuances to this. There are ways to consider that you can step into this concept without, changing your lifestyle, religion, and all your beliefs. You can step into this with curiosity and just wondering, I wonder if this would be fun. I wonder if, lying on the bed and letting my partner do whatever they want to me would be fun. Now you have to have a partner that's actually willing to do whatever to you. That's helpful. And being playful and being curious, that's all helpful. So if your partner doesn't even know that you need that, have that conversation. Hey, guess what? I'm really curious about submission. And if I just lie down, will you just do anything and everything to me? And give them 3 ideas, because honestly, if you just leave it blank, they're going to be like, I don't know. I don't even know what you mean. And I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't want to hit you. So then you just have to be like, okay, what I want is sickle torture. And I want you to tickle me. I'm going to lie on my tummy and I want you to tickle me or light touches from the back of my neck all the way down. And I want you to tell me that I'm not allowed to have an orgasm until you say so. That is like submission. And yes, for a lot of people that might irk you and go, why does the other person have control over that? They actually don't, but it's also guiding, because you can orgasm whenever you want, let's face it. But sometimes giving over that verbally can kind of be enticing and kind of sexy. So tell me when to come. Really? I can tell you when to come. And then saying, not yet, so you can be very playful with this, no matter what level of experience you're at. You don't have to be hardcore into this. You can use this as a segue into a lot of interesting things that you can, do with exploration. So what I want you to do is just think about that. So when we were on commercial break and I was asking you to ask your bodies, like, what would it be like to be submissive? What would it like to be in a submissive position, and submission position? And what would your body like to receive from that? So for me, first thing that came up is lying down, face down, and then light tickles down the body. Not so much tickles as like a light finger drawing down the body, and like right down the spine, down to the very base of the spine, like right where the bum crack starts. Then down and around, like down through lightly, like that teasing area, kind of down around the buttocks, and then around, and then down the legs, down to the behind the knees, and then down to the foot. So that to me would be like, woo, right? That's very fun. Now, other people might want that with heat. They might want it with cold. They might want it with something more intense, like sandpaper or something sharp, or like scratching fingers down their back. So not everybody is going to be the tickly kind or the light touch kind. So knowing what kind of touch you like is really helpful. And if you don't know, then it's a good time to experiment. So getting yourself lying down and then experimenting with the touches, the different things like soft touches, hard touches, spanks, energetic touches, scratching, all kinds of things. And keep note of what you like. Let your partner know what you like, and then use that as like part of your submission play. So when your partner goes to do something that doesn't work for you, like maybe they're doing something that's rough play, that's more rough than you want, then you're like, yellow zone or red zone, let them know, communicate with your safe words. And when they're doing something you like, let them know, green, or moan, or give them feedback, because feedback is going to be what helps this move forward, right? So verbal feedback, audio feedback of moaning, like, that's good. So whatever kind of comes out of your mouth, or whatever comes out of your body, whatever comes to you, let that show up. So I just feel like touching this crazy whip right now, so I'm going to. And now think about that. So your body might like these different touches or different experiences. So how do you become submissive and let go? First, find out what you like. Then as your partner's doing it, I want you to take deep breaths in. So if it's really uncomfortable for you, even if you're feeling like turned on, but you're uncomfortable and you're like, oh, we should switch because you've been giving me too much touch already. I dare you to hold out for another 2 or 3 minutes and deep breathe in and out, and let your partner do the tickle torture, the touch torture, the, scratching your back, scratching your balls, spanking you up. Let it just go a little bit further. Breathe it in, let it go, and see if you can take it just beyond your comfort zone. So that's where the letting go starts to happen, is when it goes just over the edge of comfort. Then you start to let go and let go and let go and let go. Wherever we're comfortable, we're holding on. Yeah. Our bodies like to be comfortable. They like to be not in pain. That's a different sort of situation. But there's a comfort with sex where it does become this verge of pleasure and pain, like the orgasm can be so extreme that it's almost uncomfortable. Then you let go and the body becomes comforted by the energy that's coming out. Yeah. So let it go to that extreme. Deep breathe in, receive it more. Ask your body to receive more of it, to submit more, to let go, to receive, to receive, to receive. Ask your body to do that. Your body's smart. And if you think that woman's talking nonsense, try it. See what happens when you ask your body to do this. And just let it receive that, absorb whatever's coming at it for pleasure for that extra 2 minutes. And if you're really still uncomfortable, go to red zone. If you're having even more fun than you ever imagined, keep it rocking. Sisters and brothers, keep having fun with it. So we are heading off to our next commercial break. And are we heading off to our, yes, we're heading off to our next commercial break. So you are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, sweet pleasure seekers. You just caught me in the middle of a paddle session. So, welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. Tonight we're talking about being submissive, and I brought out some of my fun tools for submission, like my linguini whip, also known as the onyx whip from Pure Romance, that's made from silicone, totally washable, and this paddle that's also silicone and washable. And during the commercial, I also showed you a rope creation. And I love the feeling of this. It's really weighty. And I actually just got this rope at the hardware store. I wound it up into lengths that are as long as my arm. So around my hand and around my arm, I left some at the end and just wrapped it around. So it's soft enough that it doesn't scratch. Like some ropes are very scratchy, but if you like scratchy, get scratchy. This one's very soft and silky. And there's probably about 15 or 20 feet of rope in the purchase I got, and it was under $15 at a hardware store. So you can find all kinds of tools for submission everywhere and anywhere. You can find chains at the hardware store, tape. You can find stuff at the surgical stores as well. Like if you go and you're looking for surgical tape, if you want to tape somebody's mouth, or if you want to tape their hands together, there's surgical tape, which is a lot safer than things like duct tape. So you can find a lot of this playful, fun stuff and make some of it too, really easily. So you don't have to invest millions if this is something that's new to you. You don't have to be like from 50 Shades of Grey and have a room dedicated to it, although how freaking awesome would that be? That room in 50 Shades of Grey is just so sexy. I just sometimes fantasize about that room, like I'm sure millions of other people in the world do too. So tonight we're talking about submission and the value of it and the art of it. And one of the arts of it is, and I'm not claiming in any way to be a long-lived experienced person in this, but what I do know is that any willingness to even submit, even in a little tiny bit, is going to offer you way more pleasure than trying to be in control. So I dare you to actually be willing to submit so that you can be way more, having way more fun. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this episode was, I noted actually in my notes, and I've had zero time to gather any notes today for information, but this is not like a new thing on the planet. So submission didn't just occur when 50 Shades of Grey came out. This has been around a long time. So people have been interested in different levels of domination and submission, to the extreme where some people actually really enjoy watching people be hurt and shamed and in pain, and that's more the sadist. And then you have masochists who really enjoy having pain and being embarrassed. So there's a different kind of level, I guess you could say, there, where you can be at an extreme that way. That's like one swing of the pendulum, and then you can be in this sort of other area where you're just experimenting and trying out new things to see what it's like to give up control, or give over or receive from your partner. So I won't get into historical references because I don't have enough time on this show. So I apologize to anybody who saw this show description and was really excited for historical references, because I normally love to talk history, and that is probably not going to occur today. So we've got okay. So I'm just checking. Okay. So one of the things is to look at the difference between doing submission for healing and doing submission for out of like just submitting because you don't have or feel like you have the sense of free will to choose. So I would like you to know that, for one, in order to truly be submissive, you have to be empowered. You have to be empowered enough to not be stepped on. You have to be empowered enough to not allow people to walk over you. And to truly be a dom, you have to be empowered enough not to walk on people or to have them not feel empowered. So the experience, no matter what, is going to be an empowering experience. I know that sounds backwards, and maybe I'm introducing something that's not in the realm of what people are expecting or even necessarily always choosing with this work. But and I call it work because to me there's a healing aspect to it. So I'd say this is more like a healing type work, although it can be incredibly playful and fun and a great introduction and curiosity in your relationship. It also feels like to me that this has to do so deeply with healing things, especially with, different relationships. And I think the level of healing you can get from playing with submission and dominance is incredibly deep. And how do you do it? Well, first, how do you actually get to a place where you can be allowing yourself to heal those wounds? Sometimes there is a requirement to do some background work, some therapy originally to crack those doors open. And sometimes you also require sometimes there's also a requirement to be just really, I would say, I am so sorry, people. I just got lost my track. I was looking for something and I lost it. Okay. So so we're looking at the healing aspect of it. And I'm wondering if any of you out there listening have had the experience of feeling like you are never going to get over a trauma, like you're never going to get over victimhood, like you're never going to get over feeling less than. And you think that there's no way that you're ever going to give up control again, because, you know, that would be counterintuitive to your healing. What would be in line with your healing would be being in control, making choices, you know, doing everything on your own and being independent. I love when people tell me they want to be independent, and I'm like, it's an interesting choice. You chose to be on a planet with like 8 billion people, but you would like to be independent of them. It takes a lot of effort to completely detach from all 8 billion, not only people, but animals, creatures, plants, and all of that. So you're not independent. I'm sorry. If you've ever earned a penny in your life or been given money in your life to survive, you're not independent. That's just the fact. So what I think you're truly trying to say is you would like to be empowered, which is different than independent. So to be empowered is to be able to know what it's like to not be walked on, to be in total control, yet be willing to totally let go. So to me, submission and being in a space with a Dom who is practiced, who is, what's so good word for it, is respectful, is kind, is considerate, and is an empowering Dom, can be incredibly healing. So if you've been offered in your life ever by anybody, and you get the hit that this person is respectful, kind, and would be a contribution to your healing, then I say, go for it. See what it offers you. Now, if that person offers you that and your gut says, that person is not kind, not considerate, and not respectful, and they're not going to honor my, my call of no, they're not going to hear my safe words, then don't go there, don't play. It's helpful to know your partner so that when you do play, you are in a way feeling like you can let go, you can trust, and that your body starts to train to trust. I teach people to train to trust their body in different ways, and some of them are using things like muscle testing, and that's one way to trust your body. Questioning and curiosity is helpful as well, so that's great too. And submission is another great way to learn how to trust your body. So weird, but so true. You know that there's, I think it's in theater arts, where they do this experiment of trust, and you have to have somebody standing behind you, and then you let go, and you fall into their hands, and you hope to God that they catch you. Well, that's submission. And it's like feeling that the person that you're with will have your back no matter what. And it's one way to get you to get that whoever you're with, whoever your lover is, has your back. Now, letting yourself be in that kind of position, if you haven't done any of your own personal inner healing work, if you haven't done any therapy, and you go into that and you fully surrender, and then you feel naive because you're like, you don't have any backup. You don't have any tools to kind of get you back on track if the shit hits the fan and the person leaves and you're alone and you feel abandoned, and then all of your issues come back in your face. Not so helpful. But if you can do some therapy, you can get some sex and intimacy coaching from me if you like. So connect with me. I do that, and you can connect with me through my website. So get some background so that you have some tools, so that you can know how to communicate, so that you can let go, so your body can heal. And that's the target, right? So we're going to head to our next commercial break. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. We've been talking about submission today, about the art of submission, about what you can do to allow yourself to heal through submission. So I haven't given you like the weekend course on submission. I'm giving you a little tap into the possible reality of submission and what that would be like. But stay tuned, because in the coming year, if COVID doesn't shut down the entire reality as we know it, there will be submission classes coming to you, but you'll have to come to them. So they'll be coming to you, coming through me, coming to me, that kind of thing. Now you get what I'm talking about. So submission, what is the value of it? So not only can it allow you to have more lasting, exciting, delightful orgasms, it can also be very incredibly healing. And that to me is key. I'm all about pleasure, but I'm also all about, how do you get pleasure? You get rid of your crap so there's room for pleasure. It's kind of like if your house is filled with things and you're like a hoarder, well, where are you going to fit you, or where are you going to fit anything else that actually brings you joy? Well, it's not. Go talk to Marie Kondo. She'll tell you all about joy. And you can kind of enjoy your body as well. Like, do these emotions work? No. Let them go. They don't bring me joy. And thank you for being here. You don't bring me joy anymore. Bye-bye. So if your feelings aren't bringing you joy, Marie Kondo them and let them go. And if you don't know what that is, check on Netflix. There's a great series about tidying up your house or something like that. Tidy Up with Marie Kondo. So find the joy. Anyway, she's been around a while. She's entertaining and beautiful and great energy. So what I know is that for bodies, it's actually not that different than your house. That if your body is filled emotionally with garbage and trauma and all kinds of resistance, it's full. Where's the room for the pleasure? Where's the room for the joy? Got to start removing some stuff that's not working. Just got to kind of take it out, take it to the trash, and then let that joy and pleasure and all the good stuff come in and like yummy, and let it happen. So are you going to let it happen? So let's start simple. Like I mentioned earlier, find one thing that your body might like to do. And I also to you, actually, is what I want to start with. Find one thing that you don't mind doing to yourself. Blindfold, maybe a little tickle, maybe a little whip. It's a little different to tickle yourself or whip yourself. However, it kind of sets it in motion that in your mind, you know that you're in control of this. And you can stop whenever you want. And this, whatever you're experiencing, is something that you can stop whenever you like. And so you're in control, but you're also submissive at the same time. Irony, I know. Then, if this is something you're introducing into your love life with a partner, remember, you need to give them 2 or 3 things that are feasible, that they can do with you and for you, that will allow you to bring this submissive play into your life. So it's always good to have the conversation. And if you've not listened to my shows before, I talk about how do you introduce these things into a relationship. There's many references in many of the episodes. However, I'll give you the brief. With your partner, make your list. What you really want to do in terms of pleasure, like what turns you on, turns off, and then like some neutral zones, things you're considering but never really tried, never really thought about. So there's the, I would like to do it, I will never do it, I'll consider doing it. That's another way to think of it. Make your list, show your partner, ask your partner to make a list as well, switch those lists up. And on your like to try it list, or things that you need, like you require, maybe you require this in a relationship and your partner is not willing to do it, then there's a conversation that needs to be had. However, we're going down the road of if your partner says yes. And if your partner says, yes, I'm willing to play, what are 3 things that you would like for your partner to do? Would you like them to put a lovely silky scarf on you and blindfold you? Would you love that? Would you love to have your hands and legs tied? Would you like to be hog-tied? Would you like to just have your hands tied? What would you like? Would you like to just go crazy with this? Would you like to be tied to a bed? I would just start playing with all the fun examples of how and where you can have fun with these things. You can do some gentle ties that are just wrapping around your body too. Just get used to the idea of a little binding without having too much restraint. So there's levels of restraint too that may be overwhelming to people at first. So getting used to just the feeling of something around your wrists or around your legs, or even binding your arms behind your back or around your body. You can use that great rope that I was showing you earlier. This can do many things. It's like a wonderful tool to have around for all kinds of pleasure. It's 110 uses, I'm sure. Maybe I'll do a show called 110 Uses of Rope. I have to come up with 110. I'm sure I can come up with at least 10. So find your 3. And I suggest something mild at first, unless you've already tried mild and you want to step it up. But mild would be like blindfolding with something soft. You can use the like silky scarves, you can use panties, you can use a shirt, you can use a towel, use what you've got around. But if you don't like that idea, you can always connect with me. You can get one of these great, very soft satiny blindfolds off of Pure Romance. You can connect with me for my link for that. And those are pretty sweet and soft and washable. So I like to stick to washable too, because you never know, there can be makeup on it and you could cry, you could have like a meltdown, and be with your partner. So that's another thing I want to add. Through healing, sometimes people cry. Check in with your partner, because if your partner's crying and they're in the middle of this process, just check. Would you like something different? Are you okay? What's going on? Let me know. So from the Dom perspective, you need to communicate with your sub. If they're not communicating with you, communicate with them and see what feedback you get, because they might have gone into some kind of healing trauma and forgot how to respond to you. So I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for being part of this show today, and please play.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.